The calendar says spring, but the temperatures would tell us otherwise. This storm has already changed once for the Champlain Valley.
And a lot of folks enjoying the snow, some folks not so much. We'll show you what to expect for the evening and overnight as this storm continues on.
This is ABC 22 News at 6.
And as you could see in that video we just showed you, it is still coming down. Thanks for being here. I'm Lauren Maloney in the Weather Center with meteorologist Haley Boulay. This nuisance system is sticking around. Vermont State Police tell us there have been 111 weather-related crashes, the majority in northern Vermont. I think it's safe to say, however, Haley, that this storm was more of a problem when it came to power outages than anything else.
Yes, and that was because of the heavy wet snow. You saw that kind of snowy scene with the snow sticking to everything, including the tree branches and the power lines, combined with some very strong winds. And we're going to talk about those winds in a second, but let's first look at those power outage. Almost 25,000 Vermonters in the dark at this hour. And the highest county, Washington County, with over 6,500 folks in the dark. New York, our 4 counties of New York, 3,600 and 5,500 folks in New Hampshire in our coverage area. So let's take a look at some of those snowfall totals. A lot of snow, and the biggest issue I want to bring up to folks is the fact that, especially the Champlain Valley, you know our forecast was 2 to 4 inches, and looking outside in the Champlain Valley, you know that that did not verify. A lot more in terms of cold air compared to what we were expecting. We didn't really see that changeover to plain rain this afternoon like we thought would happen. So some of those totals, Rochester at 21.5 inches. That is the highest so far. 19 in Underhill, and Greensboro about 17 and a half. We'll have more on this storm in just a few minutes. But first, Lauren, we'll send it over to you.
There is nothing like a spring storm to mess up plans ahead of the busiest long weekend for the Northeast. Let's now go to ABC 22's Matt Holderman live on our Trex weather deck with more information on just how the roads were doing and the closures we saw at some points this afternoon.
Yeah, Lauren, certainly plenty of closures out there this afternoon. It didn't seem to matter if you were in an area that got a couple inches of snow or an area that got nearly a couple feet. There were still a lot of crashes and a lot of damage caused by the storm, and at the very least, it certainly held up a lot of commuters. It may be spring, but the snow hasn't stopped yet. Thursday's storm made for some pretty scenery in much of Vermont, but also gave people headaches, especially behind the wheel. On Vermont Route 100 between Waterbury and Stowe, this tractor trailer slid off the road around 10 a.m., leading to a closure in both directions for a couple hours. Luckily, a capable enough tow truck arrived and was able to pull the truck out around noon. But at the same time that road reopened, another one closed in North Hero as a telephone pole fell across U.S. Route 2, blocking the asphalt for about an hour. The fallen pole had wires connected to the North Hero School, although it's not clear if this caused any power issues. The pole was moved off the road by 1 o'clock. Further south down Route 2, choppy waves could be seen on Lake Champlain near Sandbar State Park, and slush covered some of the pavement in South Burlington. Even further south down in Pomfret, Green Mountain Power took a picture of this tree that fell across the road and destroyed this set of power lines. And it wasn't just drivers who dealt with delays. A number of flights were pushed back at Leahy BTV as airport employees worked to de-ice planes and pilots waited for the snow to slow down before taking off. In total, the storm created dozens of incidents and full closures around the Northeast, and this map from NewEngland511.org shows some of them as of 4 p.m. And despite all of those issues caused by the storm, those 111 crashes that Vermont State Police have responded to that you mentioned earlier, Lauren, we at least can say it sounds like only 3 of them involved injuries and no serious injuries from what we're told. So at the very least, that is a good note that we can put out there. And Another good note too, speaking of, I know there's a lot of folks who are just kind of tired of snow by this point, right? I think it's good to try to, look at the good, for a lack of a better term there, whenever we can, because this might be the last time we see snow for a long time. And this is fantastic snow here to pack in this heavy wet snow and make some snowballs. Or if you have some good Vermont maple syrup in the fridge, then you can make some sugar on snow one final time this winter season. And with that, Laura, now that I'm done with this report, I'm going to go enjoy this. Back to you.
Just walk off, Matt. It's okay. By the way, the weather just didn't hit New England hard. The North Country also dealing with the effects. ABC 22's Zion Dakota is in Queensbury with more.
As the old saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. Is snow showers what they had in mind?
Well, I mean, we are used to snow pretty well into, April, even early May sometimes, but to have this much and this heavy wet snow, this is an unusual storm even for us up here in the North Country.
Don Lehman, Director of Public Affairs for Warren County, says power outages by the thousands plagued 30 to 40% of National Grid customers Thursday, signs of which we saw ourselves.
Cold night, I mean, people hopefully have some backup heating sources because it might be a little while for this one.
If you were looking forward to warmer weather and blooming flowers, April Fools. This homeowner in Chestertown who didn't want to talk on camera showed us he still has to break out the snowblower this late into the year. Old Man Winter proved he isn't ready to retire, and he won't go without a fight. In Weavertown, this tree was knocked down and tangled in power lines, creating major traffic backups in the area. This winter storm comes on the heels of a major travel weekend. An influx of people expected to flock to the North Country to book hotels close to the path of totality for Monday's solar eclipse. Whether or not this will slow down travel, Lehman says people are determined.
We're supposed to get temperatures into the 60s for the weekend. This is going to melt pretty quick. A lot of these people have had reservations for years, and we just heard about one couple that had made reservations 7 years ago to come up here. So, I mean, it's a big deal for some people.